Hello and welcome to another dev diary for Imperator Rome, this time the 1st of June 2020, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Epirus and about a bit of culture rework as well. So let's just dive right into it. Greetings all. Before Trintragula continues with a further look at a cultural integration feature, I'd like to inform you of the accompanying release to the 1.5 Menander update, the Epirus Content Pack. Now, for those of you with long memories, you'll remember that the Epirus pack was something we offered as a pre-order bonus to those eager to get their hands on the game. There's been a noticeable demand from those of you who missed the opportunity to purchase this post-launch, so we've decided to make the game, make this available for purchase. I'm totally down for that. I think that's a solid thing to do. I'm not in favor of pre-order bonuses, kind of in general. But I'm even less in favor of them when that content is forever locked away. I do remember, I think the first PDX-Con that I was attending, I had a discussion with, I think it was Victor, who basically, we were talking about the pre-order bonus for Hearts of Iron 4, which was a music pack, and I had a friend with me who was quite upset that he didn't pre-order the game in time, and now he's not able to enjoy that music in the game, and he would like a way to purchase it. And I kind of think that's completely fair. I don't think you should be able to be locked away from certain content just because you didn't purchase it at a certain time, when it's digital content at least. But anyway, given the progress development over the last year or so, we've ended up with a lot more interesting things we can add to content packs. So I've decided that we're going to augment the Epirus pack with a series of new mission chains. Also really good. No, that's perfectly fine. Chop Mist has been secreted away in his laboratory, creating these for you, and we'll lead you through them in detail next week. Alright, so we know what's coming next week then. So one thing I will say about mission packs, mission chains, is that they can be a little bit powerful. It's a pretty big power boost to the nations that have them, especially Sparta, and I'm still a little bit worried about power creep. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case, but I do think that Epirus is going to get a little bit of a power boost from this. There is an achievement for Epirus to own Rome. I don't think it's a timed one, but if you don't do it when Pyrrhus is alive, then you don't get the ego points. And I have a feeling that that's going to be slightly easier to do. Mostly because, I mean, the mission trees sort of guide you in a certain direction, and for Pyrrhus, it makes sense that those mission trees would guide him in the direction of Magna Graecia, and then probably Macedon afterwards. But anyway, let's continue on. As a final note, I'll confirm to those of you who've pre-ordered the game and received the Epirus pack last April will receive the new missions without having to purchase any new content. I was not expecting that we would have to, but I'm glad that they have kind of nipped an argument in the bud before it starts, because there will be some people who did pre-order the game who will just jump to the assumption that they're going to have to purchase a new mission pack thing, and yeah, that's not the case. So anyway, now back to Trintragula and culture. So since last we wrote about the upcoming overhaul for culture in the Menander update, we've been hard at work implementing our ideas. Today I can show you more on how things have been shaping up and what you can expect from some of the things mentioned only in passing in the last diary. So this is what this screen is now going to be looking like, and I'm assuming that is the new button for it. This is the culture one. Also, looks like you can open the culture map mode from this. That's interesting. Primary culture is Roman of the Italic culture group, and I guess this is the breakdown of different pops that Rome has. That looks like what Rome starts with at the start of the game, although Neapolis is surprisingly not a vassal. It is the 1st of October 450, but Neapolis should be... oh wait, no. There's the vassal down there. I guess maybe not then. Okay. I forgot what the start of the game looks like now. But yeah, no, that's going to be the pop breakdown. 399 pops. I wonder, did they just add 9 pops? Or have they reshaped them at all? Let's have a look, shall we? So Rome starts with 399, so they have changed the pops around just a little bit. So 147, 135, 2493. 138 now for the citizens, 135, 2493. We must calculate this. 9 plus 138 plus 135 plus 24 plus 93. Yeah, no, it works. I just couldn't see the difference between the two numbers. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so now we can sort by culture groups, which is nice. Integration status. You can see what kind of level they're going to be at. I guess their average happiness. I don't know if there's any more we can glean from this image. Also got the new Senate rework that we learned about last week, so that's nice. Yep, looking good, looking good. All right, moving on. As we talked about in the last diary about our rework to the cultural relationship you have with your pops, the most important thing that the Menander update brings is that a culture will now have an associated civic right, regulating what pop types the pops of that culture can most promote to. Pops can exist above their allowed level, but in these cases they can only demote. Additionally, the number of pops that demote when land changes hands and the spread of assimilation have both been reduced. Okie dokie. So we got this image. Babylonian is an integrated culture. Babylonian pops are treated the same as Macedonian. They'll not assimilate and enjoy primary culture happiness. This is for the Seleucids. We've got Persian also at the same level. They're both at citizen level. We've got Macedonian obviously at the noble level. Assyrians at the freeman level. Makes sense. Be interesting if I could see like the is that the average happiness of all pops, all cultures, or is that the average happiness of the primary? Well, considering all three of these are the primary now because they've both been integrated, I guess it makes sense that this would be the average of the primary culture, which seems very low, but I don't know. And then we've got Assyrian there as well, who is not integrated at all. All right, very nice. Anything more that we can glean from this image? Map modes are the same. No extra things on the top. We've got that new culture button. All right, cool. Additionally, if a culture has the civic right that allows promotion to citizens or nobles, it's considered an integrated culture and will make use of the same happiness as your country's main culture does. Changing civic right is normally instant, but the promotion or demotion of pops to match their new right can take quite some time. But when integrating a culture, it takes a longer period of time. Your stability decreases. Integration will also prevent you with some... Sorry, present... That should be present. I take no blame for misreading that. It'll present you with some choices or events for choices and challenges that the integration process itself entails. Each integrated culture reduces the total happiness for all integrated cultures, including your own primary culture. This means you may want to limit yourself in how many cultures you give equal rights as nobles or citizens. Ooh, and you got decisions there. We can create an honor guard, municipal state, self-rule, patronage, and promote citizen administrators. I like that. I do like having these decisions here. That's interesting. More than just, the decisions on the cultures, I think this is interesting for other reasons. If they start adding decision menus inside to these other ones, I think you could really work with that in some interesting ways. Off the top of my head example, maybe in the religious screen, which is this one, not this one. Maybe in the religious screen there could be some decisions to work with your religious minorities. So make them heathens and you want to get rid of them, or accept them, or different things that you could do with that. Decisions within these menus is a interesting step forward. Let's see where they go with it. Nothing more to glean from this one either. Let's move on. What are cultural decisions? Cultural decisions are essentially rights and privileges that you can grant to individual cultures in your country. As a rule, these cost stability to enact and will change the happiness output or individual pop happiness for pops of a specific culture. will also be an associated negative national modifier for a limited time, during which your society is adjusting to the newly granted right or privilege. During this adjustment period, you cannot grant the same right to another culture. There are 3 groups of decisions depending on if the selected culture is your own primary culture, an integrated culture, or if it is a non-integrated culture. Which decisions make sense to take for each culture will depend on the circumstances in your campaign. You may find that granting privileges is mostly worth doing for the larger and more influential cultures in your country, while some others may only make sense for the smaller ones. That is actually kind of important. One thing I did worry about with this culture rework is that there are going to be some cultures that it makes very little sense to work with at all. So, for instance, if you are playing as Rome and you go into Illyria, and you've got Taulantian here, it's bloody tiny. There is very few Taulantian pops on the map. This is not a whole ton of pops. So what I worried is that you could end up in a situation where you've taken it and there is never, ever, ever going to be a reason to integrate them, to change their pop status, to do any of these decisions, I guess. There was never going to be any reason to do any of that because it's just such a minor part of your nation. There being decisions that make sense for small classes, small cultures, I think is a really good idea, because you've got something that you can interact with them and it won't feel useless, even if it's something to do with, getting rid of them faster, that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think that's good. Also making them happier so they will convert faster, without, integrating them, I think would also be pretty good. So yeah, no, interesting. Also, we can see Carthage's Senate here now. They've got Democrats and Traditionalists. I think that is the standard one that we got a look at last week. It'd be nice if they had something unique, but again, I don't know of what we could have for that just yet. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It's certainly interesting. All right, moving on. Where were we? We were here. As always, numbers should be taken with a grain of salt, since balancing is an ongoing process while we play with the new feature. Good. Protection against torture, naturally. Alright. Non-integrated cultures will be the vast majority of peoples you control for any country of reasonable size. Cultural rights was not a binary thing in the era covered by the game. Some people would often have different rights than others. The decisions for non-integrated cultures range from some that let you regulate what you get out of the pop, right to enter legal contracts, to those that increase their happiness, right of inheritance. There is also some that can be useful for actually assimilating another culture, such as founding a settlement in their lands or granting rights to intermarriage. Fair enough. So for Seleucids, Babylon can get honor guard. Yeah, we've seen that one already. Fair enough. Integrated cultures are those that have risen to almost the same status as your country's primary culture. These are part of the ruling classes, but rather than having a long history in your country, they've been integrated through the process described earlier. Since integrated cultures are rarer and more closely tied to their state, the decisions they have access to are a bit more powerful in what they do. Oh, I like that then, very much so. Plus 10% cultural happiness for Aramaic and integrated culture. If you do that, that's good. That's good. I do like that. Oh wait, actually no, it makes them into an independent country, and a client state. So you can make Adma into an independent country. It's not of our culture group, it'll become a client state. Then Aramaic culture gains municipal self-rule. But aren't you getting rid of all of the Aramaics by releasing Adma? Is that not what's happening here? I guess you could then reintegrate them, and you've still that's only for 240 months. I do not get the reason for why you would take this. Unless, Adma is only a single city, and then the rest of the Aramaics are going to be happier for, 20 years. I mean, that maybe. All right. Examples of decisions for integrated cultures range from idealizing their culture or employing them as administrators to rule other cultures in their group. Yes, that's what I wanted to see. Reducing their efficiency, but also increasing the happiness of those they helped you rule. I would also love to see these other cultures in their group culture convert to the integrated culture. I would love to see that. Like, say if I am Rome and I integrate Macedonian, I would love to see, Epirus culture convert themselves to Macedonian if I have that Macedonian as an administrator. I think that would be really bloody fun and cool and stuff. So maybe, please. You can also grant one of their communities self-rule as a client city-state. Okay, so it is just the one city, or feudatory. Creating feudatories, just straight up creating tons of feudatories. Ooh, that could be interesting. That could definitely be interesting. All right. So we've also got ease restrictions on citizenship. Culture citizen happiness goes up. Culture noble happiness goes down. You get approval with the optimates and boni. Okay. And that's permanent. I don't see a timer on that one. Okay. Okie dokie. The primary culture is one that your country's ruling class all came from originally. For most countries, this is the culture that's most numerous at the start. There are some notable exceptions among the great empires, especially among the Greek successor kingdoms. Primary culture decisions tend to have a wider effect than those for other cultures. You can decide to do things like abolish the census tax for all citizens and nobles, permanently increasing primary and integrated culture happiness, while also reducing the output of your elite. Some decisions also have a secondary effect that affects the characters in your country, such as making trials more likely to succeed against characters that are not of your primary culture, or allowing adoption and the rise of families from outside your primary culture. This is now off by default. Alright. Abolish the census tax. I mean, if it reduced the amount of money you got from them, totally cool, but if it reduced the research, I'd not be in favor of that. Abolishing the census tax. Okay, so I no longer need to, you're no longer going to be taxed as much for a certain thing, so you're going to get less money from taxes. But they're still going to be researching, like just lowering the output in general. I'd be against lowering their tax income or their commerce income or something like that. I'd be in favor of that specifically. But anyway, moving on. As you've likely seen in the prior screenshots, the culture interface, which was just a mock-up in the last diary, has now been worked on quite a bit. It aims to give a good overview of all you need to know to handle the cultures within your country. It also allows sorting and filtering all cultures, shows the current pop type right, as well as the current pop type distribution within any culture in your country. You know, also see and enact cultural decisions or change pop type right. Lovely. I wonder if there's going to be something about culture conversion, like in general, like say you are, I'm not going to use Egypt as an example because, I mean, let's be fair, they've got their example already. But say you are playing as the Bosporan Kingdom, and instead of, sticking to your Greek heritage, you conquer all this Scythian land up here, and you want to embrace your horse archer roots or whatever. I wonder, would you be able to culture convert your nation to Scythian? I wonder if that's going to be a thing in the culture rework. Who knows? Being able to see where each culture or religion is dominant has been possible since the release via the respective map modes, but seeing exactly where one culture starts and the other stops, or where there are large minorities of a culture, is something the map mode up until now has not supported very well. In the Menander update, we've added functionality to show only one selected culture, highlighting all places where pops of that culture exist in minority as well as where they're dominant. Very nice, I love that. This allows you to better see where pops of a culture or religion exist and help guide your decisions for how to deal with culture in terms of cultural decisions, as well as for planning military expansion, appointment of governors, etc. In the cultural interface, there is also a button on each culture in your country to open this map mode with a culture selected. This way you can even see the location of minority cultures that are not dominant in any part of the map. Lovely. I don't think it's this map mode though, because nothing there is highlighted. Or at least I don't see anything highlighted. Nope, don't see anything highlighted. Okay. Anything here? I mean, it's just really nice, though, isn't it? But yeah, it does. I honestly, I can't see the difference here. Maybe they just didn't add a screenshot of that. Apart from its gameplay use, I find the... Oh, wait, we can see it there. Okay. Apart from its gameplay use, I find the culture interface and map mode useful because it shows all the minorities that exist around the world at any point in time for various historical reasons. We've also taken this opportunity to once again update minorities worldwide and make the starting map a more interesting place. So the Massilians are all over the place, even where Punic is dominant, like in Carthage itself. There is some Massilians there. Very nice. Here's what Carthage looks like when different cultures selected in the culture map mode. That's all I had to talk about today, about the changes coming to cultures and how you deal with them. The system is still being tweaked and worked upon, but to us the world already feels more alive. That is very, very nice. Very nice indeed. I like it. So my thoughts. I am totally in favor of a culture rework. I think this is a very interesting system. I very much like the cultural decisions mechanic. I think that can add quite a lot of things to do with peace, which is something that pretty much all Paradox games struggle with in some degree or other. But this, I think, is going to be a step in the right direction. So totally in favor. Let's see if there are any dev comments after the dev diary, and if not, then we're just going to end. Ooh, there are. Lovely. We have a question. How much negative primary culture happiness will we suffer for each integrated culture, and for how long? Currently I have it 5% per integrated culture, with the baseline for primary other culture group now being primary 30%, same group 10%, and other groups 0%. Base pop happiness for pops has been tweaked to compensate for this. Over time, there's also more modifiers you can gain for primary culture happiness, essentially increasing your ability to integrate cultures. One of these is the tax exemption decision I mentioned in the diary. Okay. So this is, this is base, and then it goes up by 30%, which is, that's fine. It's not, these guys are only 30% happy. No, it's plus 30, so they're 130% happy. Where did the national decision button? Where did go the national decision button? Oh yeah, he's totally right. He's totally right. I always forget what the bloody buttons look like, so I completely blanked on that. But yeah, it's now in the country button, country view, which I think is a good idea as well, because let's be fair, there was often very little in here. So yeah, moving it down there, that's fine. That's totally fine. Anything else? No, that is unfortunately it. So, is there anything else we can glean from this image, though? No. Yeah, no, good spot. Cruise, that guy. Anyway, that is the dev diary for today, and yeah, those are my thoughts on it. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think these cultural changes are to the benefit of the game? What tweaks would you make to it? All that kind of good stuff. Chuck that in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked my opinions, I guess. If you don't like my opinions, chuck a dislike on there. If you want to keep up to date with all Imperator Rome news and updates, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.